You ever have a total stranger show up in your driveway, block you in, and announce the police are on their way like you're the criminal just for minding your own business? Yeah, that happened to me. Her name was Celeste Whitmore, HOA president, self-declared queen of Cedar Ridge, voice cracking with outrage as she waved a $450 violation notice in my face barely 3 weeks after I'd bought the place. My crime, apparently landscaping non-compliance grass, half an inch too high and a paint color nobody had to approve. I told her something she absolutely did not want to hear. I'm not in your HOA. You should have seen the look on her face. Now let me back up a sec, because when Officer Brennan rolled up all official in the Georgia afternoon sun, I had my deed, my survey, and every legal receipt in hand, proving my lot was carved out way before their little club got started. Watching Celeste's confidence drain was almost worth the headache. But what she didn't know, what nobody knew yet, was that by pushing me, she'd set off something way bigger than her fake authority. Ever dealt with somebody who thinks they own you just because they're used to running the show? Stick around, this one's got more twists than a bag of pretzels. Friday afternoon, 2:30, sun hot enough to melt your patience right off your bones. I pulled my truck up to 42 Cedar Ridge Lane, engine ticking, and there she was. Celeste pastel sweater hair sprayed into submission heels, hitting the pavement like she was charging the Bastille. I stayed in the cab for a minute, phone recording in my lap. Old habit from years appraising real estate, you know. You learn to document everything when you're the guy always questioned about what's really yours. Gravel under my boots, clipboard between us. She didn't use my first name, just Mr. Hartwell. Like the rest of my identity was optional. She started rattling off violations, grass height paint color, my truck's parking angle. She read it out like a judge, passing sentence, fully expecting me to just fold. I let her finish, kept my voice level, told her calmly that I wasn't subject to her HOA. You could see the gears grinding, confusion, then irritation, then pure denial. That's impossible. Every home here is in the association. She tapped her clipboard like she could will reality into existence. You can't just opt out. I wasn't opting out, I'd never been in. Out came my phone's survey map deed, everything she refused to even glance at it. This is ridiculous, she snapped, then threatened to call the cops for scamming the neighborhood. I just stood there, let the phone record, waited for the show. Officer Brennan showed up in 12 minutes, measured professional, not hand-on gun, just pad and pen. Celeste hit him with a list of grievances, how I was disrupting the community and needed to be removed. He listened, then turned to me. I showed him my papers, showed him the boundary lines, the 1998 covenant that never included Lot 42. I watched the moment his expression changed. Recognition, then the careful tone of a cop who knows someone's not going to get their way. Ma'am, his documentation is in order. He's not in your HOA. Celeste's face flushed like she'd just swallowed a lemon. She demanded to know when I'd bought the house. 3 weeks ago. All legal. Brennan closed his notepad and told her to withdraw her complaint. I swear for a second she almost argued with the cop, but some self-preservation instinct must have kicked in. She turned and stomped away, clutching her clipboard like a life raft. After the cop left, I stood in the driveway, heart still pounding the air thick with cut grass and resentment. I stopped the recording, 18 minutes of crystal clear audio, backed it up to 3 different places. Old habits save lives, or at least in my case, a lot of trouble. What I didn't know then was just how much trouble was coming my way. Because this, as it turned out, was just the beginning. See, 3 weeks before that showdown, I'd been sitting in a hot, fluorescent-lit county clerk's office, scrolling foreclosure listings, hoping to finally buy a home where my daughter Nessa could have her own room. Divorce had left me with joint custody, and not much to show for it, except $180,000 from the sale of our old place, not exactly a king's ransom in Atlanta. But my work as an appraiser taught me where to look for value tax auction properties nobody else wanted. That's how I found Lot 42. 3 bedrooms, 4 acres, the bones still good under the neglect, and most importantly, not part of the Cedar Ridge HOA. I triple checked the county records. Called up my friend Kieran, real estate attorney, the kind who lives in the fine print. If your deed isn't in the covenant, they can't touch you. Just keep your paperwork tight. I showed up to the auction with a cashier's check and won the house. It was a mess inside, water-damaged carpets older than disco, but I'd seen worse. Nessa and I moved in purple walls and all ready for a new start. A week later, the first letter came gold embossed, so official it practically screamed, "You owe us." Dues, initiation fees, landscaping approvals, none of which applied to me. I sent polite emails with proof. No reply. Then a sharper letter threatening legal action. Still, I stayed polite. Then Celeste showed up in person. That's when the gloves came off. After that, the violation notices started coming like clockwork. Orange stickers, fines for grass height, trash cans out at the wrong time, even my truck's bumper being too close to the easement. She'd stand out there measuring with a tape like she was prepping for the Olympics. I kept my phone recording, filed every notice, screenshot every law. Kieran texted, "Document everything. Don't engage. We'll have grounds for harassment if this escalates." And oh, did it escalate. What got me wasn't just the pettiness. It was when Nessa came home from school, eyes red, asking, "Why do they hate us?" Turns out Emma's mom had told her daughter not to play at our house anymore, said we brought down property values. That hurt in a way no lawsuit could. Then came the law firm letter on Whitmore and Associates letterhead. I looked up the firm. Guess who Russell Whitmore, Celeste's husband? Kieran practically laughed. That's a slap suit. They're trying to scare you into silence. Georgia has anti-slap statutes, but most folks fold anyway. You're an appraiser, he said. You know records better than most lawyers. Start investigating. There's always a reason for power grabs this stupid. So I did. County financial disclosures, vendor contracts, meeting minutes. Took me 2 days to see the pattern 41 houses, but the math only worked if they had 42. They'd budgeted my house before I even moved in, all to feed a $300,000 landscaping contract to a company owned by Russell Whitmore. No competitive bids, no disclosures, just their little shell company sucking dues out of the neighborhood. I dug deeper. Missing money in the books every year since Green Edge got the contract. The more I mapped it, the clearer it got. This wasn't about grass. It was about money. That's when Mrs. Holloway, a neighbor I barely knew, reached out, asked me to meet for coffee, said she'd been on the original board, had her own folder of receipts, and was tired of watching Celeste run the place like a private ATM. She handed me a USB stick email threads, including one where Celeste told Russell, "If he doesn't pay, we'll make it uncomfortable." We've done this before. 3 families had moved out since Celeste took over. Coincidence? Not a chance. Kieran was blunt. File a complaint, but don't confront them. Desperate people do stupid things. But there was one more card I could play. The HOA's common property, the park, pool, and clubhouse, was behind on taxes. The redemption window had just closed. Kieran explained, buy the tax lien at auction, and if they don't pay up, you own every asset they need. The day of the auction, I squared off against Russell Paddle for paddle up to $45,000. I won. I walked out holding the fate of Cedar Ridge in my hand. Celeste and Russell went into meltdown mode, angry messages, toilet paper on my lawn, threats and warnings. Celeste even showed up at my door, hands shaking, tried to talk me down. I told her flat out, resign, publish audits, dissolve the Green Edge contract, hold a new election. Otherwise, I'd fence off every park lot, the clubhouse, and let the whole neighborhood see what their dues had really been buying. HOA meeting night, they tried to bar me at the door. I quoted the Georgia statute, "This is an open meeting, and by the way, I own the building." The whole room turned on them. Residents called for a vote. Celeste and Russell were removed by a landslide. The new board was elected on the spot. First order of business, fire Green Edge, hire a real landscaping company for half the price, launch a forensic audit. Turned out, I'd barely scratched the surface, almost $87,000 missing over 5 years, all funneled through fake invoices and shell accounts. Russell and Celeste ended up facing felony charges, paid full restitution, and were banned from ever serving on a Georgia HOA board again. Dues dropped, transparency went up, the neighborhood finally felt like, well, a neighborhood. Nessa's old friend Emma even came back around, but my girl was smarter now. I'm not sure I want to be friends with someone whose mom only likes us now that we're not in trouble. You know what, I was proud of her for that. 6 months later, we'd published a free guide online helping other neighborhoods fight the same battles. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution ran a feature about us. State law changed. Now every big HOA in Georgia has to publish audits and disclose conflicts of interest. People from all over the country reached out asking for advice, sharing their own stories. I'd moved here looking for stability, but found a kind of purpose instead. And if you're sitting there thinking this could never happen to you, let me tell you, anywhere power's unchecked, it finds a way to serve itself. All it takes to stop it is one person willing to stand up, document everything, and refuse to be intimidated. You're not alone. There are laws. There are allies. There's a path forward. Share your story below. Tell me where you're watching from. And if you believe justice still matters, hit subscribe. Sometimes doing what's right is hard, but it's never impossible. And when enough of us do it, things really can change.